Hello, conscious community. Kyle, one of your favorite conscious agents here at Reality Sandwich, back with another amazing Share Your Experience interview, joined by the wonderfully talented musician, Sarah Elas. Sarah, thank you for joining me today and taking the
Oh,
time.
it is my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Of course, I was super excited for this. Obviously, we're huge Jam Band and Grateful Dead fans here at Reality Sandwich. When you got introduced to me, I was super excited to put this together. So I'd love if you could start, give a brief introduction to who you are to our audience.
Awesome. Oh, wow, I'm so excited too. So yeah, my name is Sarah Elas. I have been in the jam and psychedelic scenes for a very long time, since probably since my sister took me to my first fish show at 18. And since then it really has spiraled into something really beautiful, and I've built this amazing life for myself, as a musician, as a creator, and still as just a live music and counterculture fan. So now I am a bass player, which is super fun. I taught myself during the pandemic, which is kind of a crazy story how I've gotten so far so quickly. I'm currently on tour with Barely Dead, which is a really high energy rock and roll, super fun Grateful Dead cover band based out of Boston. And we go all around the United States, and I'm super lucky. And I'm also a founding member of this band Boojum, which is an original jam band. Well, we call ourselves more of an art band, but we're a psychedelic theatrical jam band that puts on immersive works in New York City and now hopefully around the world.
Wow, a lot to unpack there, and super exciting. Curious here, were your parents, jam band Grateful Dead heads? You mentioned your sister getting you into the music. What was your musical journey? Did you have lessons
Yeah,
growing up, or
totally.
was it right
Yeah, so
around the
my
pandemic?
Yeah, absolutely. So my parents weren't jam band fans, but they were definitely music fans. Grew up with a lot of music in the house, but my sister Shiri, was a huge Fish fan, was on tour, I think 95, 96, 97, 98, 99. And I always just kind of knew about it through her, and I think it was by accident that she took me to my first Fish show. I think I just had nowhere else to be. And she took me in at the Greek Theater in Berkeley, and it
Wow.
really changed my life. And I think I was already primed to want it. Like, I already remember as a young kid being obsessed with hippies, right? And counterculture. And I wanted this life. Um, I guess you could call me I was a poser for a while, but I think you have to be, when you really want to get into something, and you dress up the part, and you Google it, and you just kind of see what it's about. And then it's been cool to get older and grow into it, and really understand what it's like to be in this scene in this age in 2025.
Beautifully put. What was it about, you think, that particular style of music and the culture and the way people dress that attracted you to it most? And I'd love for you to walk me through that first Fish show.
Yeah, it's so fun. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think the first word that comes to my mind is the freedom of it. I think there's beauty in the freedom of improvisation itself, right? And being open to making mistakes and trying new things. There's a freedom in the way people interact with each other, right? I feel like there's people of all ages. There's just such a vibrant community of people that are truly free spirited in the way that they dress, in the way that they express themselves, and the topics we talk about feel way more open and abundant than, I don't know, what I was seeing in my other life. So I was really drawn to that. So my sister took me to my first Fish show, and I remember the first song was Possum. I don't know how into Fish you are, but it's a part where everyone's like singing along. Everyone says Possum, and it was just really cool to see everyone so passionate and so just alive. And at that point, was I even smoking weed? I mean, I guess I was smoking weed, but not with my sister. But I just like loved just everyone coming together and just celebrating and partying, and in a way that felt really organic and natural.
Beautifully put. Now, did you grow up taking music lessons? Was it piano, or did you really pick it up when the pandemic hit and you got into wanting to play the bass?
Yeah, I actually am a classically trained professional dancer.
Oh,
So
wow.
I was a dancer since age 3. I went to college for dance. I moved to New York City to be a professional dancer. And so that has to have informed my ability to play bass. It kind of feels like the same exact thing, right? Where I have this deep understanding of music and rhythm and just feel that when I picked up the bass during the pandemic, it kind of came to me pretty easily. And I still sometimes don't even know how I do it because it really is dancing in a way. And my whole goal is to make people dance and make myself dance. And I think that that's kind of that golden ticket that I found is that if the pursuit is always in the groove and in the dance, and you know the steps, or now for my hands, I know the notes. That's kind of just that's all I need for now.
Well put. I'd love to break down, what do you think the difference in fan base or culture or vibe you think is between people who are fans of Fish who come out for the Grateful Dead show and then who come out for your band?
Wow, yeah, that's a cool thing to think about because I think you do. It is the music industry, right? So we always have to think about how to reach new fans. And I feel really lucky in the Fish scene. I kind of Fish has always kind of leaned into the silly and the theatrical and obscure, and I think that actually translates kind of perfect to what we're doing with Boojum, right? Because we are theatrical. We already have a full like 40 song suite of Alice in Wonderland songs that we put together, and we have costumes and dancers and projections, and now we're working on this crazy space rock opera and this other show called Ritual, which I'm super excited about. And so I feel really lucky that the fish side of that fan base is already loving this because of Gamehenge, because of everything Astray has done with musical theater. And I think on the other hand, the Grateful Dead was kind of the more thoughtful band. It was more Americana based, blues based, and so you wanna also be writing songs that are meaningful and thoughtful, and you can think about, and you can listen to, and cry and laugh and reminisce and things like that. So I think just I'm trying to be this well-rounded musician that is creating everything, but at the same time, you can't take yourself too seriously. I think I was even talking about this last night with some other musicians at the Goose Show. Is what's the quote? Take the music seriously, but don't take yourself seriously. Shout out to Cotter for saying that last night to me, Cotter Ellis, the drummer of Goose, and it really stuck with me.
Good words to live by. You briefly
Yeah.
mentioned now, you enjoying cannabis at the Fish show. Would love to hear now about your plant medicine experience, how that influenced your creativity or what ritual, you partake in. Was it, everyone, did you use cannabis as a teenager and how did your relationship with plant medicine evolve there?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think when was the first time I smoked weed? It was probably sophomore year of college. Again, like I think I just wanted to be a hippie, so I wanted to smoke weed. uh, and yeah, it treated me really well. I think it was really fun being a going growing up after high school. Mind you, like weed was not legal yet,
Hmm.
right? So you had to. It was a little bit different back then, and getting into college, being a dance major, we all loved getting high and creating and talking, and as a dancer, I was also kind of in the improvisation space, which is another reason why I think the jam band scene fit for me. And in that space, we were all kind of experimenting at the time and seeing how we could open our minds. And then we got a hold of mushrooms and we got a hold of some acid, and it kind of grew from there. And I feel really lucky to have developed a really just beautiful relationship with those kind of things. I think my nowadays you'll find me microdosing mushrooms a lot at shows. I think I've found that perfect sweet spot of being able to open my mind and feeling alive and feeling different, but not getting too overwhelmed. I definitely, if there's a song I don't know well enough and I'm like a little too high, which I've been many times, I forget the notes. And so I there's this beautiful kind of ebb and flow of like finding what opens your mind, trying to recreate it, and then expand on it, and then seeing, oh, can I do this without? Like what lessons am I learning with this plant medicine, and how am I applying it if it's a show that I'm not partaking, or if it's just in my everyday life conversation.
Super rad. I'd love to hear, when I talk and interview a lot of people, I feel cannabis kind of gets left out of the psychedelic community industry. People like to segment cannabis into its own bucket there. Why do you think that is? And do you think cannabis is psychedelic?
Hmm. That is interesting. Yeah, I mean it's definitely a different experience. I mean, there's definitely we can all I assume cite a time where we had a psychedelic experience from an edible that was too strong or some mix and maybe there is that separation because you're reaching a different kind of psychedelic experience. I think it's so clear if you're taking a mushroom dose or an acid dose. There's that clear psychedelic feeling, right? In the leaves and in the trees and in the breathing of the world that you don't get with cannabis. Where cannabis is more of that cerebral, or if you're ingesting it, a more of a body high. And so I can see how people can want to separate them, and I mean every substance is different and will affect people differently. So maybe we should put them in all separate baskets.
Mhm.
But I'm trying to kind of unify this experience and my experience and really find out what works best for me and what I enjoy and what is good for hanging, what's good for being alone, and what's good for being on stage, which is like a totally different experience.
What was your first mushroom experience? And walk me through that story and how that evolved now into your microdosing regimen.
Totally. I was probably in college. We all took some mushrooms and went for a hike and went into this awesome greenhouse that was on campus, and it was really nature focused. And I loved that. I really did, and it was really special, and I couldn't wait to do it again. And then I tried to replicate that experience at live shows. So I would start taking pretty large doses at shows, and I actually was having a pretty bad time. I would get some crazy audio hallucinations where the music would start to sound really disjointed. I would get a little socially awkward, and I couldn't communicate on these bigger doses. So then I stopped, and then I got more into weed and into that. And then I think someone actually, maybe even more recently, was like, Sarah, why aren't you microdosing? And I tried it probably, uh, now is probably like 2 or 3 years ago, and I was hooked. I couldn't believe it, which it feels so obvious, like, oh, you could just take a smaller dose. But I didn't think of that at the time. And yeah, so I started microdosing, and since then I've just really loved it for when I need that. It's not even need it, but I want a creative jump and something silly that kind of lifts me up without kind of getting me too in my head, because I'm super in my head, but I'm also super social, and I love connecting with people. And as long as I don't lose the ability to connect with people, like that's my only goal.
Mhm.
And that's kind of the beauty, I think, of especially, and other bands will say this too, if the whole band kind of partakes together, takes the same dose at the same time, you really do unlock this mental telepathy, this musical telepathy. You're all together. And it's not, like I said, it's not just us who have felt this way. You can talk to so many bands that feel the same way. And it's really cool. That's so cool to me.
Tapping into the mycelial network there. That's awesome.
Exactly. You hear it
What would you
all the time.
say? I love, what is the difference when you microdose when you're in the creative process and either writing new music or planning for a show versus, when you're now live in front of a massive audience?
Totally. Yeah, I think the biggest difference would be the intention, right? I think create they're both extremely personal experiences, and vulnerable experiences, but in such different ways. I think when you're in the studio writing, it's you're with your I usually with your closest friends. Like Boojum they're my best friends. I talk to them all day, every day. But you're writing, and you're trying things, and you can't have any shame, and you can't, like, ugh, it's weird proposing ideas even to friends, and sometimes they'll say no, right? And you can't take it personally, and you keep going. And I think, and when we experiment with psychedelics in this place, really the goal is still to open up and get creative and go far out. Now with performing, of course, you're also vulnerable. You're on stage, but it's with a bunch of strangers. And so my intention is more making friends and inviting people in and putting on a show and being high energy and jumping around and having fun and showing I'm having fun. So it's more of this outward journey, whereas in songwriting it's more of that internal digging deep within. Where's the idea? Grabbing the idea from the ether and putting it out.
What would you say is your preferred vibe? Do you like playing music festivals and attending festivals versus more intentional concert venue performances?
Ooh. You know, I might be biased right now because I just got back from an amazing weekend at Northlands Festival. It was the best weekend of my life. Yeah, I'm still reeling for it. So right now I would say I'm a festival girly, just because I'm out there talking to artists, collaborating, meeting new people. But I mean, if you look at the root of what we're doing with Boojum, like what we're doing is trying to create, like intentional art spaces, and we want to create, like one of the first jam band Broadway shows or Broadway theater companies, and creating spaces for intentional creation and exploration and weird art stuff. That's what we want to build at home.
When you're playing in a cover band and covering another artist's songs, how do you inject some of your own creativity and mix it up for the audience that definitely wants to hear the classics, but you gotta represent yourself creatively as well?
Oh, it's that's so hard to do, and there are so many Grateful Dead bands, right? They're endless, and everyone is unique and so beautiful, and I'm still figuring that line out. I'm very lucky to be where I am in the Grateful Dead scene, because the way I learned bass was learning Grateful Dead and Fish songs.
Mhm.
And so inside me, just innately, I play like Phil Lesh, because that's how I learned to play bass, which is really cool, really cool. A lot of people, I guess, say that I play like Phil. But on the other hand, I think my philosophy is you got to learn the rules to break them. So I was lucky that I learned bass by learning all of Phil's rules, and now with my music theory knowledge and just my performance experience, I can now intentionally break them. And I was having a conversation with someone recently, and I said, I like the way I said this. I said, like, I know my way around a lot of Grateful Dead songs. And so it's that concept of knowing your way around, knowing the layout of the house, knowing that the song's going to go here, knowing that Phil likes to do this lick sometimes, but it's based on this theory, and that you can play around. And so you know your way around, you know the rules, and then simultaneously turn your mind off, break them, and just, I don't know. I always say I press buttons, and you just let the spirit take you. And that's where the magic happens, is all this prep and knowledge, and then letting it all go and just having fun and just enjoying it. And then your soul comes out. You can't even help it.
How did now your original band Boojum come together, and how did you curate, the family there?
Yeah, I feel super lucky. So, we all met a couple of years ago, but the two other guys who play guitar, their name are Chris Mackin and Josh Santiago, have been writing music together since college. And it was always theatrical, and it was always great. It was always kind of in that vein. They have an amazing, amazing, just like backlog of work that I'm obsessed with. And we all came together because Chris started a collective called Bushwick's Dead, which now we have a running residency at Brooklyn Bowl. And they got in contact with me to book my Fish cover band. And I think we all just became friends almost immediately, because it was like, oh my goodness, you like jam bands. Oh my God, you like theater. Oh my, it was kind of just like fate. And we were friends for a while, and then they were going to put together this Alice in Wonderland show and needed a bass player, and I was kind of the first call, and we had the best time of our lives, and we started a band, and it just kind of fit, and I feel super lucky to have found them, and be a part of this story and hopefully create a massive, massive story for our future.
Beautifully put. What are some of your favorite Broadway musical performances that inspired the show you guys are creating?
Yeah, oh, that's a good question. Growing up as a dancer, I would do these dance programs every year with New York City Dance Alliance. And I would go to New York City for 2 weeks every summer and dance, and we'd go see Broadway shows. So I feel like I saw In the Heights really early, which was the precursor to Hamilton.
Mhm.
Um, I, of course, like Wicked is so timely. My dad would always play Hairspray in Chicago. I remember even like super random, but Chitty Chitty Bang Bang like changed my life for some
Wow.
reason. Like really, really funny. Um, and now recently I just got to go see Illinois, which was really cool, which was all dance based.
Mm.
And yeah, it was really cool being a dancer growing up in New York City, being in that world, and then finding people that also were in that world and liked jam bands. It kind of it felt crazy, but then again, I live in New York City, so I'm sure we're everywhere.
Alice in Wonderland definitely gets the psychedelic rap there. What do you think about it? Inspires psychedelic use or some of these psychedelic visuals? And again, would love to hear more about what you guys have planned with that.
Well, exactly, right? So that is the exact reason that was chosen for this piece. Also, it's I think it's public domain, so you're allowed to use it. But yeah, like Alice in Wonderland is the quintessential psychedelic trip story, right? And it is amazing, beautiful fodder for material. And it started pretty obvious, right? We have a song, Cheshire Cat. A lot of this is on Spotify, by the way. But there's also so many secondary characters and plot lines in Alice in Wonderland that you don't put enough, or people don't know about, that are just really fun to write about. One of our biggest songs is called Pig Baby, because Alice meets this pig baby. And I don't know, who knows? Exactly. It's just crazy. And we have a song, Caterpillar Hookah, which is obviously psychedelic. So I think we tapped into that immediately, that there's a connection. Alice in Wonderland psychedelics jams, but it also increases the audience. So imagine a Broadway show that is different every time, like a jam band, right? We have 40 songs. You can only play whatever 12 per show. You never know what you're going to get. There's jams in it, and all of a sudden someone comes out in a terrifying pig mask and scares you, which is like we literally do this. And so it kind of just felt like the perfect combination. And we debuted it at Brooklyn Bowl, which is awesome. We've played we've called Electric Wonderland. We've done it at Sultan Room twice now, and we had a residency at the Brooklyn Art House. And yeah, it just kind of felt perfect. And even like Lewis Carroll has another story called The Hunting of the Snark. So same author as Alice in Wonderland, which is this really cool story about this adventure, and that's where the name Boojum comes from. And we have a whole pirate show based on that. And it all just kind of it just makes sense, and it's super fun and inspiring. And like I said, there's so many like little subplots and interesting one-liners that are so brilliant, that you can make almost endless material out of. And so we just released our second EP called Looking Glass House. And if you're a big Alice in Wonderland fan, you know that's part two of the story. There's Down the Rabbit Hole, and then there's Through the Looking Glass. And so we're still going. Well, now we moved on. Now we're like I said, we have like a rock opera in the works and some other stuff. But it was the kind of the perfect way to get those creative juices flowing in this psychedelic realm of electric theater, which we call it.
Super rad. What do you think makes or breaks a good live performance or show? What are all the factors that go into a performance group like yourself wanting to curate the right audience and making sure everything goes smoothly?
Totally. Yeah, there's a lot of parts to this. My day job is also booking shows, so I feel like there's the two sides to this. I think when it comes to producing the show, I like to throw the best party.
Mhm.
I think people come for the party, for the vibe, for their friends. And so my our number one goal is to always just make sure people are comfortable, having fun. Their friends think it's cool, they think it's cool. Awesome. So that's kind of like behind the scenes job. And I think it's my job on stage to have the most fun, because I think if I'm having fun, everyone's going to have fun. And if I'm in my head and I'm unsure of myself and I'm worried that people are having fun, they're going to feel that energy, right? Because we're all connected. We're, like you said, that like we're all connected. And so your job is to go out there and really truly enjoy what you're doing and believe in what you're doing. And even if you mess up, you smile and you get over it. Even if it's a weird night, even if, whatever, it is my job to have the best time. And then before that, it's also my job to make sure that everyone's having the best time by having a cool space, having whatever, all the logistics. And then we have fun.
Wonderful. Sarah, thank you so much for sharing here today. Where can people listen to your music? What shows do you have upcoming? Where can people follow you? And again, what do you recommend for musicians who are interested in trying plant medicine and unlocking some more creativity in themselves?
Yeah, awesome. So yeah, Boojum is on Spotify. Boojum. We just released our second EP. We also have a lot of live shows on Bandcamp that you should totally listen to. Our jams are killer. They're super fun. On Instagram, it's Boojum Band. Barely Dead is always on tour. Literally always. We're about to play Philly, New York. Hey, we're always coming to your town. Barely Dead. Super fun. Shows coming up. I guess check the socials. I think the next show for Boojum is we're playing a Freaks Day Out. So shout out to the New York City Freaks for hosting us. And for musicians wanting to expand your creativity, I would say try everything in moderation, but remember, it's not just the plant medicine that affects how it's going to turn out. And so really learn yourself. Learn what makes you tick. Learn what makes you nervous. Learn what energies you feed off of, because it won't always feel the same. And then you got to know how to be prepared to deal with it. I mean, I love Jerry Garcia sometimes says, I mean, they took a lot of acid, and he said, sometimes I'd be playing for my life, I'd be playing for my life. And there's some times where you are on stage and you are playing for your life. I think on Bicycle Day, I was playing for my life. And so just really, really know, and then really trust yourself. I think when I play the best, using plant medicine or not, is really when I'm in that flow state, when I'm just going and I trust myself and I know that it will be okay. And so take that and really turn off that annoying inner monologue and just go with the flow and trust that you know what you are doing, trust that you love what you're doing, trust that you are in the right place. And all of this will really kind of become a beautiful experience for you.
Sarah, thank you so much for sharing today. Really appreciate hearing from you, and so excited to listen to your music more and check out your upcoming show.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kyle. This is really awesome. I love talking about this stuff. I love living in this world and in this scene. I feel so lucky.